Hello everybody, Jose Rodriguez here. I'm just having a little bit of soda here. This has been a hard week. We've had Nathan's the last 4 days, one more day tomorrow. The other grandparents are away for the week on a trip involving some students in school, and I think they're down in Williamsburg, Virginia. But anyway, it's been a lot of fun. It's just that at the end of the day, I just don't have the time nor the energy to do any more content. Well, I'm going to try tonight. It is Thursday evening. We will still have our live stream Saturday afternoon at 5 o'clock p.m. That's Eastern Standard Time. So I noticed in the last live stream we had up to about 45 people at the high point and many people from Europe. So that's good. So you guys were able to not stay up so late just to hear me talk. Anyway, I appreciate that though. The subject has been hammered over and over and over again. People are having trouble still. I just don't understand why. Printing monochrome prints, meaning black and white. And remember, please remember this, there is no black and white. White is just the absence of ink in the case of photo printing. In the case of darkroom printing, white is just the paper without any reduced silver particles. That's what created the shades of gray all the way to black. Silver tarnishes, and so it would become black. And that's what you had back in those days when we were working in the darkroom. So why aren't people getting a neutral print? Well, very likely, I would say, unless something is drastically wrong with the printer, okay, or your monitor for that matter, it is usually user error. It is usually due to inconsistent settings or inconsistent process. I know that's going to strike a nerve, but it's true. If you are not consistent, you're never going to achieve consistent results. I don't care if you're a little bit magenta, as long as you're always the same amount magenta. Then you can just do an adjustment curve in your photo editing software and compensate for that. If you know that every single time you're going to be off by this amount or that amount. But if you're off by different amounts, different colors, how can you possibly deal with that? There's no way. Imagine a chef who makes a cake without using measuring utensils. Every time he makes a cake, it's a little bit dry, it's a little bit wet, too moist, sometimes perfect. Most of the time, not really. It's just one way or the other because he doesn't measure his liquids and his dry ingredients. And yeah, the same thing with printing. You have to be super consistent and just remember to always choose the same settings and stop experimenting with all sorts of different papers until you can print, at least in the case of black and whites, I'll use that term because that's what people are used to. In that case, as long as you can print monochrome consistently neutral or consistently slightly greenish, whatever, then you can adjust that. But if you're all over the board, then there's no hope. So here's what I suggest, and I'm going to do this in a series of videos, maybe 2 or 3. This will just be a lecture, so it's going to be boring, but please put up with me for the next, I don't know how long it's going to take, but later on we're going to do a computer demonstration, and then I'm going to take you through the steps that I take to take a regular color RGB file, preferably raw, and convert it correctly to black and white. Okay, that will still retain your RGB information. It'll just be all decolorized, basically. So here's what happens. The human eye is a wonderful instrument, and so is the brain. The brain will compensate for whatever little errors the human eye sees. So when you have an image that is really bright, saturated, or dense with bright colors like this, it's very difficult to see if there's a slight What will really bug you when you print a monochrome print, that slight shift toward whatever color in that color wheel. I don't care what it is. When you have something this intense, it's really difficult to see if your results are off because it's just too intense. You will not see that slight wrong shift in one direction or the other. And your eye will just tell you, hey, this is fine. Okay? So don't ever say, oh, my color prints are perfect, but my black and whites have a color shift. No, 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 no. All your images have a color shift. It's just that with black and white or monochrome, as you should be saying, you can really, really tell as soon as you have a slight shift. It's going to slap you in the face. It is that easy to detect. Okay? So don't rely on the results you're getting on images such as these. This is a wonderful image, but it's not something that's going to help you diagnose a slight problem with your monochrome prints. Same thing goes with this one. This could be off slightly in any direction around that complete color wheel. And I tell you, you will never complain if I show you individual prints, not compared to others. When you see it side by side, you immediately see it. But if I show you one print and I tell you to leave the room and ask you to come back and I show you the next one, your brain will not be able to tell the difference. It will just misdiagnose what your eyeballs are seeing unless you're really superhuman. So don't rely on bright, saturated with thousands of pounds of pop to compare to the results you're getting with black and white or monochrome images. It's just not fair. You just really cannot detect. The same thing goes for an image such as this one. I think it goes this way. Again, it's just too bright. It's just too bright, too much color, too much saturation. You will not be able to tell if it's slightly bluish. In fact, you probably wouldn't care because you're just enthralled with the brightness and the pop of those saturated colors. You will never be able to tell unless you have a really, really good eye. Something subtle like this that is supposed to be bluish, cyanish. Okay, I can see the train at a distance, and those boxcars look correct to me color-wise. If this was off, a little bit yellow, a little bit magenta, you would see it like that. So don't rely on those saturated color prints. Oh, those are perfect, but my black and whites are not, or my subtle prints have a color cast. They all have a color cast. It's just that the color cast is overpowered by the intensity of those other colors. You just can't see it. You simply cannot. Again, something like this, you will be able to see it. This is a slightly more pop, slightly more saturation, more contrast than that previous snow scene. But still, if this had a color shift, you could probably detect it without having to compare it, side by side with a perfect one. Okay? Now, what can you do? Well, like I say a million times, always begin with a standard reference image. Okay? Do not ever rely on your images to tell or to verify, if you will, that your printer is printing correctly. You need a standard. Instruments are calibrated with standards, okay? It's not guesswork. They are standards. And so you cannot use your own images. Those are all over the place. Okay, so are mine. So I cannot use my images just to calibrate, or to not calibrate, but to check to see whether my output is being performed correctly by my new printer. So the first thing you do, again, it's a broken record, beat that horse dead, triple dead, is to install your printer. Okay, that means in this case a print head, cartridges, charging the print head, perform a Nozzle check to make sure that the printhead is firing. If it's not firing on all 100% of the nozzles, cleaning cycle followed by a secondary nozzle check. Now it's perfect. Printhead alignment, in this case it's automatic. You could do an internal calibration with this puppy, not the other printers that I have here. But at that point, once you do your head calibration, print this image. Print this one and only this one, okay? Choose a paper designated for your printer, Epson or Canon. I don't work with anything else, so don't ask me about HP or anything else, or office type printers. I know nothing about those. Open this image. Do not adjust it. Open it. In fact, don't look at it. Just open it, file, print, go into your print dialog in your Photoshop, Lightroom, whatever you're using to print, Q image, like I like to use, and basically choose your printer. If you have more than one, then you can make that choice. Make sure that you match the paper that you are using. This is Canon Pro Premium Matte right here. So I will choose that paper choice. Okay. I told Photoshop or Lightroom to allow the printer to handle color management. You're trying to certify your printer, so don't interfere with your printer. Tell your application to allow the printer to run color management. Okay. Then choose the matching paper type. It has to be a paper that this printer is calibrated for at the factory. So it has to be a Canon paper, not Epson, not Hahnemuhle, not Red River. It has to be Canon. If it's an Epson printer, it has to be Epson. In the case of Canon, which a lot of people are using these days, especially the Pro 100, and many people are using this printer as well, the Pro 1000, go ahead into your color/intensity manual adjustment. Then on the top, click on the matching tab and then choose ICM. Okay, ICM. Okay, close it, choose your quality, the paper size you're going to print on, and print this image. Now this one here, I have 3 that I did. And I want to show you guys that even when you do it with letting the application control color, and you tell the driver, hey, don't mess with my color management, you're going to go to that matching tab and choose none. But you really don't have to when you're beginning. But I want to just show you what you can get with 3 different scenarios. And I want you to see this. Can you tell the difference? 3 different scenarios here. Okay? And yet, they're pretty much the same. Okay? This is very important. It has to be neutral, from black all the way to white, from black all the way to white, from black all the way to white. When you tell the printer driver, the matching tab, and you choose ICM, the driver will then say, hey, what paper type did Jose pick? Oh, Photo Paper Pro Premium Matte. It will then use that profile that you have installed in your hard drive to print through it, even though you told Photoshop and Lightroom not to control color, but to allow the driver to do that. Canon printers do that for you. Pretty much automatic, isn't it? So that's really, really a cool thing that you can do through a Canon printer. Simply tell it to use ICM on the matching tab. And it will, as long as you're printing on Canon papers, it will match the correct paper ICC profile. You will get perfect results. I guarantee you, unless you're doing something drastically wrong, unless you're tampering with that standard image, do not do that. Open it and print it. Now, let me show you what I did here just for fun. So we have the Pro 100 over there using Precision Color Signature Edition inks. OEM ICM. OEM ICM, okay? Perfect. Okay? Well, now, what if we use Precision Colors Profile? Precision Color Signature Edition, PCD 50 Delta 50 ICM. Perfect. Even better than the OEM, by the way, slightly better. Then I said, wait a minute, you know what? I got to make my own profile. I'm not going to stop here. Let someone else make a profile and beat me. So I created it, just a simple 400 patch profile. I printed it on the same paper, and here are my results. Let's compare that with the D50 profile. By the way, this is also a D50 profile. These are my results. These are their results. I want you to look at these right here. They match pretty well. They match pretty well. In fact, I prefer mine. That's D50 from PC. This is mine. Remember, why do I prefer mine? Because I made it here with my own unit, my own Pro 100, out of millions I have sold probably, my own specific Pro 100. So that profile is specific to my printer. However, my printer is behaving slightly this way, that way, off factory specs, because they're all going to be slightly different. A batch of Pro 100s is not going to produce identical results. Keep that in mind. Only a custom profile will bring you to as close to perfection as possible. Nothing is ever perfect anyway. But anyway, I get such a close result that I just don't know what to say. So anyway, there you go. OEM and then custom profiles. And really, there's really not much difference, if at all. OEM, to me, here's the OEM, just does not give you the contrast and the darks that you can get with a custom profile. So what does all this mean when it comes to printing monochromes? Simple, very simple, and I'll be blunt. If this is neutral, which it is in all three, by the way, if you get a neutral result from printing this collage of images, okay, with all of this very helpful extras that they give you, if this is neutral, why isn't yours neutral? You're doing something different. This is your standard baseline. If this works, just simply letting the driver control color, that means I didn't touch the printer at all. I just sent the open image to the printer using ICM, letting the printer control color. Photoshop is not tampering with it. Lightroom is not tampering with it, and neither is QImage or whatever else I'm using. If I can get a neutral black and white, there I go, monochrome. Why can't I then get a monochrome from my own images? What is going on? What am I doing wrong? And we're going to discuss that when we do the videos using the computer. Let me just go ahead and give you some examples to finish this up really quick because I want to get on with the next video. You've seen this one before. Image of a lake where there are a bunch of trees submerged in the water, and you get this myriad of reflections. Again, monochrome image. This was converted from a color image, properly converted in, I believe it was Lightroom. We have, let's see what we have here. PCSE Custom ICM. That's from me. PCSE OEM ICM. This is where you're going to see whether there's a shift in color. When I show you each one individually, it's very hard to tell if there's any difference. You have to put them side by side. You have to put them side by side, sometimes in different regions of the actual image. So, custom here and OEM here. No. Yeah, OEM. Okay. So let's just take a quick look at these. OEM custom. To me, the OEM, although it looks really neutral, to my trained eyes, and take that with a grain of salt, I see a slight blueness to this, or coldness. It's not what I would consider neutral. A nice, not warm, not cold, but neutral. And that's what I achieve with the custom ICM. The more you look at this one, the more correct it will look. The more you look at just this one, the more correct it will just look, unless you compare them side by side. The difference is so slight as to go unnoticed. But if I can get this from my image using the same settings that I use for those standard image prints, and I got this degree of neutrality, why can't you? Something is up. And I'm going to go ahead and cover the possibilities of what you could be doing wrong, the inconsistencies that might be creeping into your workflow. I will go ahead and cover those in the next video. That is it for now. I'm going to go ahead and process this and upload it tomorrow morning. It'll be Friday. I will then attempt, this is not a promise, Friday evening when we get home from Nathan's, to go ahead and begin to produce the video in the computer. So what I'm going to do is just take you through the setup and the settings that I use so you can visually see what I do. I'll also take you through the Epson drivers for like something like the P800 R2880, which is really one of Epson's best printers ever made. 3880. I don't have a P600, so I cannot show you that. And I will take you through and walk you through everything that you need to set up to either let the driver control color or let your application control color. It's either one or the other and never both, okay? Never both. Remember that. And also be aware that often, very often, when you simply do an update, it resets things to a default condition, which is not what you originally set it for. Finally, when you were getting those great results, it'll default itself back to original settings, which were wrong to begin with. All right. One more drink before I say goodbye. So that is it for now. Thank you so much for all the support. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and when you subscribe, you know what to do. Hit that bell and then choose to be notified, because simply clicking on the bell is no longer enough. So do that, and that way, it's not because I want you to do that, just because, but that way you'll be notified when something is new, especially if you have not subscribed in the past. All right, so that is it for now. Happy printing, everybody. Get those black and whites, monochromes, looking neutral. I'll teach you how. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everyone.